Jesse Thorne, America's radio sweetheart.
And I'm Jordan Morris, boy detective.
And this is Jordan, Jesse, Go! This week on Jordan, Jesse, Go, we're joined by the great Elizabeth Laime. Things get a little handy. Yeah, the vulgar kind. All the kids listen to this. Really shouldn't in general. Let's go. It's Jordan, Jesse, Go. I am Jesse Thorne, America's radio sweetheart. Jordan Morris, boy detective. Beautiful morning in Los Angeles. It's a weekday.
Yeah, an unusual weekday record for us.
I'm feeling industrious.
I actually had an anxiety dream about the taping today.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. Do we want to introduce
Let's bring our
and
guest into this. You know her as the host of Totally Lame. Favorite guest on this program, Miss Elizabeth Laime. How are you?
Hi!
It's great to have you back on the show.
I almost went, hi, welcome.
Because you have your own show.
We're doing two shows concurrently.
Yeah, this is going to get confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being nice about my dogs who are in the office today.
I love them.
I knew that you were a dog enthusiast, and so I felt comfortable bringing them in. Also, I did not want to leave them alone at home because my wife was out of town.
Oh, I think they might have a party?
Yeah, they might
Like a little dog party?
Good dog kicker.
I do think it's weird that you left your baby home.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can fend for himself, you know. He's got like, I mean, the head on this kid. So you want
If
Well,
he needs
good.
nourishment, he'll just eat some of his excess head meat.
Yeah, exactly. Cabeza, it's called.
Sure.
In Spanish. It traditionally comes from a cow, but a baby
I mean,
would also.
yeah, right. Hey, put a little cilantro on that, you're good to go.
Yep.
So this is my anxiety dream that I had about. I woke up at 5 a.m. Kind of breathing hard for this dream. I dreamt that I had overslept because I knew we were having to do this early in the morning. I dreamt that I had overslept, and then I got my phone. I got my iPhone to call and apologize for being late, and it was already 20 minutes late. And I was scrolling around looking for the numbers, and it was only apps. So I'm just scrolling by page after page of apps, and they're like those, it's like the brightly colored game apps. It's always like, something like stupid cartoon characters, and I'm just frantically scrolling. And then in the corner of my room, there's a well-dressed man in a suit. I don't know who he represents, but he's like, hey.
Someone who's punctual, perhaps?
Right, I know, somebody who has his shit together and doesn't sleep through his podcast taping.
Maybe someone you know that often dresses in a suit.
Oh, yeah. No, it was definitely not you. It was it was just like some guy. And he's like, hey, if you're going to call him, why not use the landline? And I look over in the corner of my room, and there's there's a landline. And then I pick it up, and I frantically try and dial, but I can't dial the numbers correctly. Like, I'm always poking the wrong number.
Oh my gosh, this is a horrible nightmare.
Here's what my thought when I woke up and checked the time and realized that I wasn't actually late. I'm like, what a fucking stupid dream. What a dumb, hack commentary on,
It's so obvious.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, you don't really use your phone to communicate anymore. It's just apps. You try to use the landline. Oh, you've forgotten how.
I think you're looking at this as a problem when you should be looking at this as an opportunity, this dream.
Oh, for a high-concept sci-fi movie?
Well, I was going to say anxiety dreams could be your ticket to a trend piece, a feature trend piece in the New York Times style section.
Oh,
Jesse Thorne.
Yeah.
Turning anxiety dreams into New York Times. I love it.
I'll turn anything into a fucking trend piece for the New York Times style section, because the key element of the trend piece in the New York Times style section does not have to be a trend.
It's something you make.
The fact that it happened to me once constitutes a trend. I mean, who am I to say that other people aren't having anxiety dreams?
What about putting apps on strollers? There's another good idea for a New York Times Magazine style section.
Sure. Oh, yeah, or the baby cappuccinos that everybody was talking about for a week.
Oh, baby cappuccinos. I did not hear about that, but yes.
Yes.
Either that's a real thing that everyone was talking about for a week, or that's just some nonsense that you made up. Either way, yes.
Yeah, I guess there was some sort of Brooklyn coffee shop that was doing like a little steamed milk with some sort of design in it.
A teaspoon of espresso.
Yeah, right. Anyways. And then I probably heard 3 or 4 commentary type things like, every baby is drinking a cappuccino all the time. No, it's just one place being cute.
Do you? Are you worried? You're not a particularly late guy.
Yeah.
Is it because you worry about it?
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean,
Because I worry
this is
about
not that early either.
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 a.m. is
That's
what we
the other
have.
thing. You said early morning record. We started at 10.
Right, yeah. Well, we met down at the docks at 6 a.m. The fog was just rolling in.
I'm like, your anxiety dream gave me so much anxiety.
Wow.
Right now,
You're late right now, Elizabeth.
I'm currently late.
Elizabeth, it's 10:17. You're supposed to be on a podcast.
I have physical manifestation.
Wait. So you're late?
I have to go to the
Did you
bathroom.
get pregnant because of all the
I got
anxiety?
pregnant. Yes, I'm late with my menses.
Oh, boy.
I just watched this documentary about Ray Romano on tour called 95 Miles to Go, I think.
Okay.
And it's not a great film by any means. It's really like a classic tour documentary in the sense that the central element of it is that nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love Ray Romano.
God, I love me some Ray Romano.
He's as good as it gets. You know what? I have a message right now. That I'm not a man who's afraid to share controversial messages.
Right.
If you've got a problem with Ray Romano, you've got a problem with me.
Oh, those are big words.
You know
Do you
what?
think Ray Romano would say the same?
Yeah, absolutely. He would say, if you have a problem with Ray Romano, you've got a problem with me.
Because that's who I am.
Yeah.
Well, see ya.
It's definitional. It's a
Yeah.
tautology. I am tired of people dismissing Everybody Loves Raymond, which
Oh, so sick of it.
It's an epidemic. Call the New York Times style trend.
and I'm tired of people presuming that because he was on a family sitcom, that he's not one of the greatest stand-up comedians of our time. So there's that. Ray Romano, it has been settled.
It's a big bomb.
One of the
Yeah.
best.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two.
In an election year, too, Jesse. I'm surprised you're taking these controversial stances.
It's called dog whistling. I
Oh.
speak in code for certain audiences.
Mm.
So that was my way of saying we shouldn't have a black president.
Oh, wow. That was
That was very
roundabout.
creative.
So white
roundabout
working
way.
class, but white working class voters hear that and they know what I'm saying is we shouldn't have a black president.
Gotcha.
You're dog whistling and you're mad dogging at the same time.
I am. I've got. If you could see my face right now, it is curled into a full-on Ice Cube style sneer.
No, boy.
Watch out.
I've also had
now I
a
just-
lot of St. Ides.
Yeah. Well, I just want a Coors Light now. Have you seen those Ice Cube Coors Light commercials?
Yeah. Ice Cube's really great.
Yeah.
That's my position
I
on
mean,
Ice Cube.
not in those, but in general.
In general, yeah, no, but I mean, I saw those Ice Cube Coors Light commercials, and I thought, I'm tired of glib beer commercials.
Sure.
I guess a glib commercial was sort of cute and surprising 5 years ago.
Yeah, now
maybe
it's
10 years
now it's
ago.
just what a commercial.
Yeah,
I want some like hard hitting hip hop, edgy, maybe actor on some sort of CSI. Is that Ice Cube? Or am I talking about
Ice
You're thinking of
Tea
Ice
is on.
Iced tea.
Law
Oh,
and Order.
Ice Cube, give me
Yeah.
iced tea. Anyway.
pop music manager Elizabeth. But here's the thing. Okay, so getting back to Ray Romano, in this documentary, one of the central conflicts of this documentary is Ray Romano. Seriously, he's on tour with the guy who directed the movie, who's an old comedian friend of his, and the old comedian friend of his is middling in his headlining sense, and he's the featured act, and so. This guy that is making the documentary is the kind of guy that like throws all his stuff in a bag at the time that they're supposed to leave. And Ray Romano wants to be in the car at a certain time. Ray Romano flips out. Now Ray Romano doesn't yell because he's not a yelling kind of guy.
That's so great.
But there is a serious fire in his eyes. Like he really, you can tell that he is thinking about violence.
What does he say?
He says, I don't know. I can't do a Ray Romano voice.
It's easy to grunt like Ray Romano. It's not easy to say words.
Yeah, and he just talks. He just talks. It'll be they're planning to leave at 8:30. It's 8:10, and he's saying, I know that we're supposed to be in the car at 8:30, and the other guy goes, oh, that's 20 minutes from now, and Ray Romano goes, in the car at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it gets really intense.
That's a serious dad move.
And I have been trying to find ways to not be like that in my family life.
Oh, sure.
Well, my husband is really like that. Like, he makes us get to a movie or the airport hours early. And
The airport, I understand. The movie seems a little odd.
That's why we always see you at the ArcLight.
Yeah, oh, sure.
We're waiting for hours for our movie to start. But he has so much anxiety about being late, which I respect. But it almost, when someone is like that, it almost makes you dig your heels in to be more like, it enables you to be lazier and like more lax about when you're getting places. So it's a real
We had a case
sticky dynamic.
on Judge John Hodgman of a guy who made his girlfriend, I think, might have been wife, show up early for parties.
Ooh,
I know.
no,
This guy had a serious issue. I'm not that guy. And in fact, for things where it's appropriate to be late, I don't have a problem with being late.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a guy who wants to pick a time that we're leaving and then leave then. It's very difficult for me to feel comfortable if I don't know when we're going, so I can plan when I'm going to do my different stuff. Like my MO typically is that I'll pack for a trip the day before
Oh.
and just put my stuff by the door
I
and
also
then
like that.
know that I'm leaving at 8:30, and then I can just do whatever I want until 8:30 comes. I look at my watch, 8:30, and then I just go.
Interesting.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, that's-
but if it's 8:30 and other people in my house, I won't say who, it's my dogs, aren't ready to go, then I
Wouldn't
am
it be
like,
cute if they had little luggage?
yeah, that would be, oh my
like
god.
roller.
Yeah, they pulled with their mouths and it's just filled with bones.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, now I'm gonna buy them that.
Jesse, do you take, because with all due respect,
Yeah.
I imagine Jordan is a real quick readier.
Sure.
I'm pretty quick. I mean, I slap on some makeup. I know it's hard to imagine because of this face that you're staring at. This is a 5-minute makeup job.
I would
Pick your jaws up
I
off of the
never
floor.
would have guessed.
Wow.
Jesse,
I'm a booker for the Today Show. Would you mind coming on tomorrow and doing a segment with Meredith Vieira?
I would love to, and I feel
5-minute
like my calling has just been answered.
And I was wondering, do you think you would be a good person to present to our Today Show audience a little information about baby cappuccinos?
I'm an expert on
How
baby
soon is too
cappuccinos. Soon. I say the sooner the better.
Okay, great. So maybe a recipe and a 5-minute makeup segment.
Well,
Would you
like
like to
all
be
of my.
Would you like to be the new co-host of the Today Show?
Let me get back to you on that
Sure.
one.
Sure.
The others, yes.
You may have to host the CBS Evening News.
That I feel more kind of comfortable with,
Right.
to be honest.
Understood.
Um,
First and foremost, you're a journalist.
first, I am a hard-hitting journalist.
Yeah.
Jesse,
I mean,
how long does it take? Because I think you probably take the longest to get ready in this sound box.
It's possible that I take the longest to get ready. However, I'm always ready on time.
Oh.
Because
that could be crocheted onto a pillow.
I decide what I'm going to wear the next day, the night before, usually. Sometimes I'll call an audible, but I'll put my clothes out for myself.
You have an extra bed in the house so you can lay out.
Yeah.
You just have a bed for the next day's outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
Clothes bed.
But I do. I mean,
Tempur-Pedic.
my closet, where my clothes are, is actually in my office. And so at night, before I go to bed, while my wife is doing her 75-minute bedtime ritual,
Her silly lady stuff.
yeah, all her lady stuff, whatever, putting baking soda in her box or whatever it is that we would do before bed.
That is what we do.
I mean, you're a man, you know?
Your idea of douching came from that one scene in Boardwalk Empire where the woman has the gallon jug of vinegar and the funnel, and she's wondering what to do with it.
And then there's the baking soda pack that you learned on Locked Up Abroad.
Sure.
I would
Pack it in.
I like the idea of a woman combining those two for a high school science experiment.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Vagina
yeah.
volcano.
Vagina volcano. I think we just named our next business, you guys.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, when I get onto a task, I tend to feel uncomfortable if it's not either settled or completely off the table. I'm not very good at letting things marinate, and so usually if I'm going out at some point during the day or whatever, during the late afternoon, at 4 or 5 or something like that, I will have thought, Jesus Christ, what am I going to wear tonight? And I will have gone into my closet and been like, okay, I'm wearing this. Even though I'm not literally putting it out, at least I've sort of like solved the issue in my mind. So
You have a Jesus Christ moment.
Yeah, exactly. I turn water into wine.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I mean, I just go in and I'm like, fine, okay, now it's settled. I don't have to worry about it. I can just eat my dinner and dig around on the internet in peace.
Yeah, good.
You know what I mean? And
Priority.
so it may, in some cases, I may do a little bit of that kind of dithering, like you would see in an 80s
Romantic
family
comedy.
sitcom or a romantic comedy.
Katherine Heigl.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
familiar with this kind of dip.
Where a woman comes out in one skirt and then she goes,
Oh, sure.
and then she goes back in and comes back out in another skirt and she's like, ah.
Yeah.
This full Carmen Miranda dress.
Yeah. And then
Pineapples
and
coming
then,
out of her
and
head.
then her
Your
gay
gay
best
friend's
friend.
like,
Yeah, I was gonna say he crosses his arms and rolls his eyes.
And then they're at Bloomies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pouring cappuccinos on the babies.
I do all that. I do all that stuff with my dogs in the role of the gay best friend. They roll their eyes. And
Oh, that makes me think. Before when we were gonna podcast and I came and then we didn't. I was telling Jordan we just lost our cat, our little cat. Oh, it's been rough, but it makes me think like Andy and I do voices for our animals. And Hurricane, the cat, was a Katrina survivor, and so he was from New Orleans, and he had a real Cajun thick, like
Like a Dom DeLuise.
yeah, his voice was, "My name is Hurricane, and I've seen some sheep."
Not Dom DeLuise. I'm thinking of.
you're thinking of celebrity chef Paul Rudd.
Paul Prudhomme. Excuse me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You guys have real special relationship.
No, Dom DeLuise and celebrity chef Paul Prudhomme are exactly the same person. I mean, if you've
that's
never
true.
confused Dom DeLuise and celebrity chef Paul Prudhomme, I don't even know.
It's
who
like
you
Ice
are.
Cube and Ice Tea.
Yeah, that makes sense. Same person.
Right. Sorry. So the cat's voice was Cajun.
Yeah, and no.
Did he ever say like, nah, 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 nah?
Yeah, all the time. He said stuff like that.
Did he ever say stuff about like Cajun? Did he ever ask for like Cajun fish or?
Yeah, he would.
Crawdad souffle.
If the mere mention of Zatarans, oh, don't even get him started.
Sure.
Yeah, he was really upset about that. But yeah, so it's sad he's gone.
Yeah. Are you are you considering replacing him with another cat?
I want to, but the problem with Hurricane was we adopted him from a neighbor who wasn't taking care of him properly, and he was mostly an indoor cat, but he still went to the bathroom outside, which is how he met his demise.
Sure.
By these tons of metal that roll down the street and that we're all familiar with cars.
Yes.
And I wouldn't want to get another cat who was outdoor, indoor. I would only want an indoor cat, but we don't really have a spot for litter, and I don't really know how that works. So we might
You never had litter
It's
for him.
super
period.
absorbent.
yeah, we never had litter.
Yeah.
It is. I do know that. It's absorbent.
Right, so you don't know how finding a spot for litter works.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know that there is one, to be honest. So we'll have to wait until we get our baller house, which will have a
Once you start balling in control, out of control.
balling, medium control of balling,
Yeah.
Mixed bag.
mixed bag. Then
You'll ball mostly on the weekends.
we'll ball. Actually, I think during the weekdays,
Oh, okay.
and we'll try not to
That's
ball
an
as much
interesting
on the
time
weekends.
to ball.
On the weekends, it'll be totally lame Bay Area ballers weekends.
That's right.
I guess Southern California.
SoCal. Yeah, so, yeah, then we're
It
going to
will
litter
still have
spot.
Drew down on it, though, right?
I don't know who Drew Down is.
So
Nope.
I got 500 Bay Area Ballers remix.
Oh, I got 5 on the Bay Area Ballers remix.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Elizabeth.
But yeah,
Something about real big fish? Anyone?
no. I do want. I've been looking online at other cats. I mean, no cat will replace this catcher.
But it's fun to look at.
I never would have thought I would get a cat, and he turned me into a dog/cat person now.
Oh,
So he's saving hopefully lots of cats' lives.
Yeah, down the road.
I'll adopt
Yeah.
cats.
I live in a neighborhood that has a lot of dogs running around, and
I know that. Every time I'm in your neighborhood, I chase this. I try to. It's horrible.
You try to get one in the car.
is
Yeah.
a continuous state of torture for me.
Aw.
Because, I mean, frankly, there's just a lot of people in my neighborhood with different cultural expectations about the role of pets in our lives.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it is a real second world type situation in a lot of my neighborhood. And it tears me up every time. Because you don't, what's going on? That's it's the fact that it's unknowable. It could be someone's dog. For one thing, there's a guy that lives in a van by the park at the bottom of my hill that has like 4 dogs that live in the van with him, and they just run around free.
And they come to the van at night.
Yeah, I think so. Oh God, this guy's real. I don't like
Real
this guy.
fan dweller.
He's the worst kind of fan dweller, which is a drunk fan dweller that yells at you.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
And it's maybe neglecting dogs.
Yeah, it is probably.
But he's a tax-paying citizen, so.
Yes, he's definitely part of the 53%. This guy that lives in a van at the bottom of my hill. But
He's probably got. I mean, he's got a lot of income from the hand jobs that he gives.
Sure. There's also just a lot of Chihuahuas that belong to people that just let them out in their yards. They're smaller than the bars of their yard, and they just run around and do whatever and come back
And
home.
they all have their balls.
Yep.
And they all make a million other chihuahuas. And then all the chihuahuas don't get me started. Here I go. They get killed in the shelters.
But I don't know if I don't know if the doggies. What about the other doggies? What if they don't have owners?
I know it's tough.
Yeah, because nobody has a collar. Nobody's got a tag.
Well, that's why.
They have a collar. It just doesn't have a tag. It's like I have a pink princess collar with no tag and no microchip. So
Yeah, they have like a little Gucci handbag.
yeah.
But there's no ID in it.
Right, exactly. It's just gum.
It's
Sorry,
gum.
Bad gum. Speaking of weird, hand jobs. Speaking of the thing I brought up.
Oh, I do want to talk about weird hand
Do
jobs.
you? Oh, okay. Do you have a weird hand job story?
Well, I learned how to give a hand job as a young girl.
Sure.
A young, no, I'm just
You learn that in Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts. I got my hand job badge.
Okay. So as a young guy, and when the time came where it looked like I was going to have to deal with a vagina, I did a lot of like reading up beforehand.
You might first order of business is maybe don't look at it or phrase it as I'm gonna have to deal with one of those things.
Well, I'm just gonna have. I throw up my hands. Well, fine. And I roll up my sleeves.
Jordan showed up and talked to the school librarian.
Seems like it's unavoidable now.
Mrs. Doherty, I'm gonna have to deal with a vagina.
And something that was really, really helpful to me was the Vice magazine guide to eating pussy.
Oh.
So like I always like to go up to like the record/bog store, like in Huntington Beach, and they always had like free Vice magazines, and I read that there's, and I'm like, oh great, this is helpful because it was like this kind of practical guide to how to perform oral sex on a woman. And there's an analog. There's the Vice guide to sucking dick, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Which was also very super descriptive and elaborate.
That was really useful in college.
It was very, yeah, exactly.
Are
And
you, Jesse?
And, post college, where I just was finding myself, kind of figuring some stuff out.
Sure. And now, even now, when you're short on rent in West Hollywood, it's useful.
And, it comes in handy.
Yeah.
But I have
So
never
to speak.
seen, you're right, I have never seen a comparable thing for a hand job, but it is something that can be done. Like, I feel like,
Artfully?
right, absolutely. So, did you ever get any advice on the hand job? And
Well,
what was it?
I gave a couple, and then I saw something about how to give this incredible hand job, and I thought I was onto something, and I would use it, and it had something. There was like a behind hand cup, and then a front hand flat, and it was a two-hand job, and there was like suction and pressure.
A double H.
And it turns out, okay, so then only recently did I, this is getting old, but I asked Andy, I wanted to see, I was just curious about like how he jerks off, like what is
Andy's
that?
your husband.
Oh, this is actually my brother.
Your
not
brother.
Andy's. But I was surprised that it's much less complicated and like involved, and I assume that the way you guys do it is the way that's the optimal way because you're doing it. No,
That's an interesting theory.
so I
Here's
just
the
think
thing.
all my bells and whistles maybe were overkill.
A man doesn't exactly masturbate for pleasure. Pleasure is part of it.
Yeah.
And there are cases where a man masturbates for pleasure, but in many cases, I would say rather than saying
It's
would
just
be
because
the
you're bored.
best
It's
way-
just because you're bored on the bus.
Yeah.
A man masturbates
About that,
because
The manner in which a man pleasures himself is less likely to be the best way than it is to be the most efficient way.
interesting. Okay.
yeah, I mean, like,
Look, we all indulge ourselves from time to time.
sure. But yeah, no, you're not really looking for. I guess you could try a bunch of different stuff
Sure.
when you're going to town.
I should mention, like, my hand job days are mostly behind me.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
It's a very rare thing, so I don't like. Yeah, I'm not.
It's by far the worst job.
I'll say this: RE hand job. When you're like in a dating relationship or you're in a long-term relationship with someone, like that, there is a point where the hand jobs stop.
Sure.
But it's like into the relationship, one will randomly come up, like it'll just happen. And you're like, oh, how about that? All right. Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I haven't eaten at Carl's Jr. in a while.
Right.
And then when you do, it's really good. You're like, I wouldn't want that. Like I'm not going to eat that once a week. That's pretty good.
Well, it is in the same way that nothing against CJ's, but
Yeah.
it's kind of
But-
sad when it happens because it means that someone is not in the mood for another J
Sure.
or the whole nine.
Right.
So once you've been married for a while,
I like the delicacy with which we're approaching this subject.
or fucking raw dog. Anyway, I do also want to say I like the Vice magazine. I'm glad that there are articles out there.
Yeah.
Eating pussy is maybe misleading, as is
Sure.
sucking dick.
Yeah.
Both,
Yeah.
just for the teenage listeners out there,
Right.
if I can,
Who should not be listening to
who
this.
should not be listening to this, but if you are,
Hey, this is no worse than what goes on a given episode of Awkward. Okay.
that's very true.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like that deep into the relationship hand job is kind of like it's just this like little bit of like sex fun that you guys can have. It's like, hey, I just gave you a hand job. All right, like it's not like you. But you're right. I mean, I guess it is. We don't want to actually have sex. but-
I think that this has happened once in the last year
Okay.
of our relationship, and it was because
Your relationship with us.
with you guys.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what. Elizabeth, you mentioned you had come over earlier and not recorded.
Right.
It wasn't because we had a technical error. It was
No,
because
I was two hand jobs.
yeah. And then we were so sleepy.
Yeah.
We just curled up on our mats.
And that's the only time that's happened in the last year of us knowing each other.
I think it's important for me to admit that I can only reach orgasm if Jordan's there.
That is important to know.
It was really fun to come on the honeymoon, though.
Yeah.
It was just a nice little vacation I wasn't expecting.
Totally.
That's sweet, you guys. I just wanted to say.
Stick your nose in a good book.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh
away from it
man.
all.
Andy, the one hand job that happened in the last year was me. This is so me, like playing a Vietnamese woman who's giving him a happy ending.
So wait, so you were. So here's what I'm imagining. You're like,
oh my God. By the way,
Andy, I'm auditioning for Saturday Night Live. I've got this great character, and I just want to workshop it a little bit.
That's
To be
exactly.
to be fair, she was auditioning for Mad TV 5 years ago
Mad TV.
when it was still on television.
I missed the boat on the
Yeah.
Mad TV, but I don't want that character to die,
Yeah.
so
right.
I resurrect her every once in a while.
In an inappropriate situation.
Yes.
Was it one of those things where it started out as like you guys were just goofing around?
Yes.
Like, well, now I've got to finish the hand.
Yeah.
Funny.
Anyway, there you have
That's
it, you guys.
terrific.
We'll be back in just a second. Now, Jordan, Jesse, go. It's Jordan, Jesse, go. I'm Jesse Thorne, America's Radio Sweetheart.
Jordan Morris, boy detective.
Elizabeth Laime, eater of sweets.
Oh, it's nice.
Oh,
Are we
you
talking
should say
about like
eater
a
of
coffee?
you say eater of souls.
Oh, that's better. I meant baked goods,
Oh, okay.
but souls is way better.
Yeah.
Souls of shoes.
It's a great way to get power.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm talking about like someone's essence. Like
Oh,
someone's-
yeah. Eater of souls. I learned how to eat soul on Vice magazine.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. The Vice
Soul.
Magazine guide to eating
You
soul.
picked that up at the Huntington Beach skate shop.
That's right.
Yeah. Coco and Sissy are joining us for this segment. They heard that we were talking about hand jobs, so they didn't know what to say. Hey, I've got a great idea.
Please, I would love to hear your great idea.
I'm going to start a MaximumFun.org softball team.
Okay.
Here's the good news.
Great.
I'm the star of the softball team.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yay! You
This
did
is
it.
the total composition of the softball team is me, you,
Okay.
Julia, Nick, producers of Bullseye.
Sure.
Lindsay gets to be on it. Lindsay's got a part-time working job starting soon at Maximum Fun, and so she gets to be on it. So I think it's basically a powerhouse team.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like a good group.
I mean,
A lot of heart.
you know what?
Yeah.
That means you guys are gonna win.
Right, yeah. It's a rebuilding year.
We might have to. We might have to bring in a couple ringers, like a couple real sports superstars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about letting Brian and Aaron from throwing shake on the team.
Oh they're pretty jacked.
Oh, hey, Brian looks good. He's like lost a bunch of weight.
Right, does look good.
Brian Zombie's a handsome man.
He's so
No doubt about
handsome. But has he lost weight or did I not?
But
see it?
I've noticed the last couple times I've seen him, he's looking fitter than
He looks so good.
I've
yeah.
been noticing that he looks gayer, but I guess that just means fitter.
Yeah, that's better. Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks tremendous. They're a little bit too good looking of a pair for podcasting.
I think so.
They're way too. Yeah.
They're slumming it with podcasting.
Yeah. But you know, what can you do?
They could have a vlog. That's how good looking they are.
They could be vlogging. They could be the next Rocket Food.
Oh, I love it.
But I think it's going to be a pretty great softball team. We got 5 players. That's the best number to have on a softball
Yeah,
team.
that's about right.
7 if we add Aaron and Brian. I may have added those numbers up front.
I'll come and because I don't know if you guys know, but I was a cheerleader,
Oh.
so I can do some
Good.
pretty inspiring
Tumbling.
cheers.
I've heard that's a really good place to work on skills like athleticism, sportsmanship, team spirit, and hand jobs.
Indeed, all of those. Yeah, it was I learned it all.
Did you date the football team? Was it a classic cheerleader football team situation?
Did I take the entire
Yes.
team?
Did you? Yes.
Yes.
Did you have them lined up for hand job, for speed hand
I
job?
know, because they had to perform. No, I see. I actually was captain for 2 years, which was unheard of.
Oh wow.
But it was because I
had not heard of it, so I'll confirm.
I mean, it's such a treacherous environment. It seems like it would be a little bit like Game of Thrones, where someone's always trying to unseat you.
Yeah, I always had to look over my shoulder.
Right.
It's like serving multiple terms on the cabinet. You know, a lot of people after 4 years, they're exhausted. They want to go home to their home districts.
I had
You're re-upping as Secretary of the Interior that second year that you're.
Also,
Yeah.
you had to always had a freshman taste your wine before you drank it to make sure
That's
it had
right.
not been poisoned.
Your box wine at
Right.
the
I
cheerleaders
wish
and football
It was
party.
Zima, you guys.
Right.
Someone has poisoned my Zima. I am undone.
I was not the most. It was not like a popular thing. I wasn't like the cutest. I was always the base of the pyramid, if that tells you anything. But it was.
You got a lot of power.
Is
It
the
was power.
strong haunches?
I was the most, I'd say, spirited and responsible.
Ah.
So that's why I was.
I thought
captain.
those were the primary. I thought those were the primary requirements to be a cheerleader.
But a lot of it had to do with being super cute and like hot and dancy and
Well, you're all of those things.
oh thanks. Well,